Hey crafters, I've had a ton of questions about how to put together these spinner puzzle cards. I'm going to go really quickly just to show you, but these are just simply adorable. They make little puzzles. You can do it with a photograph. You can do it with words. How cool would that be? Very cute. Hold it all together with brads. Just a simple little brad. I used these from Basil. These are 5mm brads. And Stampin' Up! Makes a 3.2mm brad. I think this is 3.2. Yep, 3.2mm brad. That's all you need. You can use pretty much any size brad. It just depends on how much you want it to intrude on your picture. So let's get to that tutorial.
Okay, so I've opened up my Silhouette Studio. I am going to be using Business Edition today. You probably will all have the same panels as I do. If you don't, or if it looks different, just you'll be able to find what you need. We're going to be using the flexi shapes. If you don't have flexi shapes, you can just create a circle the normal way you know how. We're going to be using the offset panel, the modify panel, and the transform panel today. So here's the picture that I'm going to be using. This is my son. This is an old picture because he's pushing 30 now, but I wanted to find a picture that was going to work in this circle. In my example card with the Easter Bunny on it, it is a 6x6 card, so I made a 5-inch circle. So what I'm going to do now is go over to the Flexi Shapes, select the circle, and come over to my mat and just click, hold, and drag. And it doesn't matter what size you make the circle, because this is where we're going to use the transform panel. And we are going to use scale, and we're going to tell it that we want that circle to be a 5-inch circle. So I'm going to lock the ratio, and I'm just going to go 5.0, enter, and now I have a 5-inch circle. Okay, I'm going to bring my picture over, and I'm just going to eyeball it. Doesn't have to be perfect. We're going to use the transform panel again to make sure everything is centered. So you can just eyeball it. I just wanted to make sure his entire face is now a cute face. The entire face is in there. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to select, drag over it and select both so that the circle and the image is selected. And I'm going to come over here to the modify window, and I'm going to select crop. So now I've cropped it into that 5-inch circle. I'm going to need this image 4 times. So I'm going to right click on it and say duplicate, duplicate, duplicate. Okay, 4 times. Now I'm going to make the circle. So I come over to my Flexi Shapes. I'm going to select the circle. I'm going to click and drag, click, hold, and drag. Doesn't matter what size I make, because I'm going to come over here now over to the transform panel. I'm going to select scale, and I'm going to lock the ratio, and I'm going to tell it I want a 5.0 size circle. There it is. And now to make the other rings to be cut, I am going to be using the offset panel. I'm going to click on that circle, and I'm going to say internal offset, and I want that internal offset. So that internal offset is now selected, and I want it to be a 0.50 offset. That offset is still selected, and I want to make another one, internal offset. And that's selected, 0.50, enter, and then that's selected, internal offset, 0.50, enter. So now I've got the number of layers that I want. You can make as many layers as you want, and you can make the offset any size you want. But for this example, I'm going to be doing these 1/2-inch circles. So now I'm going to select all those and pull them aside. So I'm going to bring over one of the pictures. So the first layer is the entire picture. Okay, so I'm going to take that first layer and I'm going to bring it over here. You do not have to do anything to try to line it up, because we are going to come back over to the transform panel, and we're going to select, click and drag over both. So both the circle and the image is selected, and we're just going to click this little sucker right here. Boom, everything is centered. Couldn't be easier. That's the first cut. The second cut is going to be the next one, and we're just going to put it over there, grab them both, hit center, and it's centered. The next one, bring it over, grab them both, hit center, and the fourth one, bring it over, grab them both, and center. Now everything is centered. I hope that that was easy. It was very fast, but just back it up if you want to watch it again. I am fortunate enough to have a 12 by 12 printer, so I'm going to be able to print this all on one page and be able to get that all on one. So I'm going to come over here. This is going to be where print and cut comes in. I'm going to come over here to my page setup panel, and I'm going to click over here on the registration marks, and I'm going to turn them on. It's my Cameo. So here's my registration marks. I love print and cut. If anybody knows me, they know that I love print and cut. So what we have to do here for print and cut is we have to make sure that we stay out of the hash marks, and we have to make sure that we stay within these little guidelines. So know that these are not grouped yet. So if you move them, they're going to get uncentered and you'll have to go back and center them again. I'm not comfortable with this one right here, so I'm going to just grab both of them and I'll move them over a little bit. These seem to be okay. These are out of the hash marks. Okay. Now all I have to do is go in and print it out. If you have a 8.5 by 11, I'll change this from Cameo to letter. That's what it's going to look like. And so you would just have to do 2 cuts. You'd have to go just fit them in there. So this probably won't work on an 8.5 by 11 at the size that it's at. I mean, you can mess with it with these registration marks and you can move them around a little bit. There's ways to do that. So if you go like this, see how the hash marks get bigger? You can make them smaller. And the thickness, you can make them thicker, thinner. I don't know. You can make them go in closer or you can bring them out. So if you bring it out on the inset, you might be able to fit them both in. But that's just something to play with. If not, do them one at a time, make them smaller, whatever. It's your choice. Okay, so this is what it's going to look like after you send it to your Cameo and it cuts, and you're going to get 4 different cuts. And here's the 4 different cuts. Now what I didn't do in the video was I did not add that tiny little circle in the middle of each cut. You can use a paper piercer once you get it all cut, line them all up, you know, just the way it would look if the spinner card was done. And you can use your paper piercer to put that in the middle, or you can go ahead and add a smaller circle when you're creating those circles in your Silhouette software. So then you would just line up your holes if you create that extra little circle. Okay, then this tiny little brad. I have a hard time with these tiny little brads because they're so tiny. Stick it through the whole of all 4 layers. And there you go. I hope you guys enjoyed this little project. If you have any questions, just reach out to me. Thanks a lot. Have fun.